Good afternoon, folks, and welcome back to another episode of South of the Cheddar Curtain. As always, it's your boy, Devin Hine, sitting across the Microsoft Teams screen from the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Lucas Mueller. You want to say hi to the folks, Luke?
Hello, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know, we have all been waiting for that middle of the offseason update pod, and folks, well, today is that day. We got a show jam-packed of Luke's and our usual over-analysis, looking at every single little bit of detail. We have a new defensive coordinator, a new special teams coordinator. Big news.
Big news.
We got some old friends to say goodbye to and reminisce a little bit. And then we got some new friends to be excited for.
A lot happened. It's been a pretty busy offseason for your Green Bay Packers.
Indeed it has. And it's me and it's you. And we've been texting all offseason, right?
Yep.
And I think I have been up and down and torn in times about how I feel about some of our moves. As I think a lot of Packer Nation has. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of uncertainty, right? And a lot of people wanted us to make a big splash in free agency, which is not exactly what happened, right? We have a couple glaring needs. At least we think they're glaring needs. The front office may think differently. But that anytime you have that, it causes some issues in the fan base, right? Because they want it addressed a certain way. And the Packers just don't really pay attention to us very much now, do they? Either with coaching or with players.
Correct. I've gone back and forth a lot on how I feel.
Yeah.
And the summary of how I feel can kind of be brought up by a question. Now let's ignore the change in defensive coordinator. Let's ignore the change in special teams coordinator. I'm just talking about thus far with our concept of the holes that we have of this team. When it comes to what we've done so far in free agency and what we look to do in the draft. And here is my fundamental question. Are we looking to make sure that the rest of the team is as it was when Micah was healthy? Or are we looking to fix the problems that we saw when he wasn't?
Ooh, good question. That's a good way of framing that.
For me, there are some similarities, but I have different needs and precedents based upon what we lost and what we have done so far with how I think our draft needs would reshuffle. And we can circle back to that later, but I think that is a fundamental question that as every individual Packer fan, you need to ask yourself when you are trying to evaluate what we have done so far and then what we have to do in the draft.
That's good. You told me you had a question coming off the intro. I mean, that's a pretty good way of framing it. Okay, so I think, and while you had started going through that question, the thing that popped into my head is, I don't know if we're not taking big swings to get significantly better currently, right? I think that's fair.
Well, yeah, but we also really couldn't.
We could have done a little something in free agency bigger than we did. We had some money. We could have gone after like one guy, you know.
I hear, but we didn't do nothing either.
We did not do nothing. A lot of negatives there. But yeah, I think as what I'm trying to remind myself for is that we were one of, if not the best team in football, right? Minutes before Micah went down, right? Do we need to get appreciably better than that? Or do we just need to get back to that? And that's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, some things will change, as we'll get into. Different defensive scheme. It's going to change our needs player-wise. But I think the fan base and myself should not overreact to the Packers potentially under-delivering on what we hoped for after how the end of the season went. The core of this team is good enough to be the 1 seed in the NFC, right? I think we weren't there, obviously, but we were on the way to at least fight for that last year. So, yeah, I think there's a certain part of me that's like, we just need to get back to where we were, right? And you always want to get better, and you hope that the young guys take jumps, and a couple of them should for sure. And if they do, all of a sudden you're a completely different ballgame, right? So I'm going to punt slightly and be like, there are some things that I think I could see the Packers prioritizing more now after what we saw at the end of the season than they would have previously. A couple position groups that probably need to be shored up that are not necessarily the ones that we're going to think of right off the bat as needing help. So, man, I don't know. But I think if we just get back to being as good as we were then, we're fine, right? That is a high-level playoff contender.
And it boils down to, the honest answer is it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, of course.
Because where I'm kind of leading with this and where my head is going is that, free agency starts and I'm banging the table. Give me a big corner after we saw Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine look like complete bumbling idiots for the last 6 weeks of the season.
Correct.
But were we not sitting here just months ago after that Eagles game, which went down as one of the top, wonderful defensive performances that we can't even enjoy because of how bad the offense was. But do you remember in that game that Carrington Valentine had 2 pass breakups on A.J. Brown, man-to-man coverage?
Yep.
And the Keyshawn Nixon led the NFL in pass breakups for 10 weeks?
He did. By a significant margin right up until the end.
By a significant margin. Without Micah, not great. Mm-hmm. With him, and I think that we just have to plan for him. This is the reality of having a top-tier superstar in the NFL. They make everybody's play around them better, as we saw. We saw the significant difference that once he was gone, and granted, Wyatt was gone too, and we had glimpses that maybe Nate Hobbs could actually help the secondary, and he was not available to even redeem himself for all of his previous sins that year.
Correct.
So any team that has a superstar of that level, it's going to make everyone better, like we were saying. But then it goes to the opposite, that yes, if they get hurt, you're screwed, which you could say for so many teams just at the quarterback position. I mean, we could sit here and name situations where if this player goes down, that is even not necessarily the quarterback, that team is probably cooked because of all that they do as an individual and the whatever multiplier you want to imagine for everybody around them. And we saw it clear as day in Green Bay when we saw the A-plus version of pretty much all of our guys on defense around him, position to position.
Yep.
And then all of them got significantly worse when he was gone.
Completely agree. So yeah,
for me, go.
No, I was just gonna kind of where you're heading is you got to plan for the team that you're going to have, right? We're gonna have Micah back in week 4, probably 4 or 5 at the latest.
Yep.
That's kind of the expectation. So you don't need to completely blow up your game plan as far as personnel goes because of those 4 weeks, right? He's coming back. You need to plan like he's going to be back. And at this point, you can only plan for him to come back healthy. You can't plan for anything else.
For sure. I have a lot more thoughts on this, but I feel like this conversation is best placed for our draft needs and reflecting on free agency as a whole. So let's table that for now. Let's jump into the news that so many Packer fans were waiting for and begging for, and it's not going to be much better than you think. The Packers finally parted ways with Rick Bisaccia in, as usual when it comes to the special teams experience, we fumbled it in the worst possible way. There were rumors and hopes that we would get rid of him early and go find a top candidate. And instead, Lucas Mueller, educate the folks. What did our beloved Green Bay Packers do with the room that hurts them the most?
Nothing. We waited, and then we still really don't know why or how he left, right?
He went to Clemson to be
He went
their
to Clemson,
coordinator?
but it sounded like when it happened, he was going to like take a break, and then he didn't. So,
Are we toxic? Like, is that why?
like, we didn't fire him. He left. He stepped away, right?
Stepped away.
Stepped
And
away,
I
it's
would
like,
say
okay,
walked away at this point because now
did.
he's somewhere else.
He did, which was kind of it's like, okay, maybe he decided to retire, take a year off, whatever, right? All that makes sense. That happens. And then he just turns around and takes the Clemson job. It's like, were you just running away from us? But it happened so late in the process. There was no one left. Like, there was no market left. Every other special teams coordinator job was filled for a while.
And
before.
like assistant job too. So
Correct.
we're not even looking at like the best
Can we
31
poach an
guys in the
assistant?
league.
Yeah.
We're looking at the best 50 or 60, which is really great when this is, ring around the rosy, which special teams unit screws over the Packers in the playoffs.
Correct.
So we ended up bringing in this dude in, folks, I don't even care. I don't know his full name. It's like Acord something.
Yeah.
He's a Belichick disciple. He was on the Patriots staff as their special teams coordinator. And then I don't know if he was let go or he moved on. And last year he was just a assistant, I believe. So he got a lower position. And from what I know of Mr. Acord's special teams units, when he was a Patriot, you know what they were known for, Luke?
What were they known for?
They were known for having blocked kicks. Music to every Packer fan's ears. So, I mean, at least if we would have done the departure of Bisaccia in a timely fashion, and we would have gotten a top special teams candidate, there would have been reason and validation and intelligence in having the emotion of hope for better. And now there is none. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. That's why I don't even know the man's name, because he's, as of now, in my mind, he is just going to be another Bisaccia. And this just means the floor, if we're in that 4th and 4 on the 40 whatever yard line and you're thinking kick or Jordan, let Jordan go for it. Please and thank you. Signed, every Packer fan ever.
I will say, because you're right, everything you said is right. I believe when he was with the Patriots, he did have the first-ranked special teams unit one year.
He had Matthew Slater, bro. I could have coached that as the number one team, bro.
And it was before Bill left, and after Bill left, his teams went down. So, yeah, I'm not overly optimistic, and kind of like you said, don't expect a lot from the special teams group. Part of the problem has been and will always be we don't value special teams players at the same level that most other teams do that are successful, right? So
correct.
And we're going to talk about it, but until recently, returners just don't matter to us, right? Keeping players around specifically for special teams is not a big concern of Matt LaFleur, right? You'd rather have somebody that's useful on offense than useful on special teams, which leads to worse special teams units. So until that gets changed, it may not matter who we put in the seat, right? Bisaccia was regarded as one of, if not the best, special teams coordinators in the NFL, right? And he comes here and nothing really changes.
And I understand there is the underlying culture of that. And as a teams coordinator, or special teams, defense, offense, whatever, you can only cook with the dishes that you're given. It's just that shit wasn't edible. So like maybe it wouldn't have been, high restaurant grade quality. Like my cooking isn't, but it would still be edible. You could be like, you know what? After half a beer, that turkey burger looks pretty damn good. So we're just talking about completely different things here. And Bisaccia too? Oh, no. And Bisaccia? Remember we were having all those conversations about how piss poor Matt LaFleur's clock management was?
Mm-hmm.
And whose job, Lucas, is it most likely to help him with that?
Bisaccia, because he was the assistant head coach.
his sins are unforgivable. Enjoy Clemson. Enjoy rooting a college team that I like too. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait for Saturdays to watch.
That's right. You don't get to avoid him.
Yeah, blocked field goals and whatnot. It's fine. It's fine. This will be more of an Iowa year. Maybe even if the Packers are doing so well, I'll root for NIU for you.
Oh, that'd be amazing. We're going to be terrible, but that'd be amazing.
All right. Anything else about Acord we want to talk or?
No, we don't know anything about this guy.
Yeah. Well, until he proves otherwise, he's already kind of dead to me. All right. Mr. Jonathan Gannon, who couldn't motivate me to open up a door or walk up a flight of stairs or.
Yeah, his Hard Knocks was rough.
His Hard Knocks was really rough. And that does not mean that he cannot be a wonderful defensive mind. We all, like NFL media, the internet, everyone laughed at Nick Sirianni when he was like up there at his introductory press conference and really awkward.
Yep.
I personally didn't. As an awkward person myself, I was like, oh, bro, I'm sorry. Like, I really hope you go out and do well. And he did. So, good for him. But yeah, the Gannon clips and Hard Knocks, not the best in the world. So this man was the Eagles defensive coordinator when they won the Super Bowl.
Very good defense.
Mm-hmm. And then he went and was the head coach in Arizona for what, Luke, 2 years?
I believe it was 2, yeah.
Cardinals had a lot of success. Kyler Murray, in and out injury-wise. But
they're the Cardinals, so kind of enough said there.
True. I mean, they blotched Jake Plummer, so worthless organization.
Fair point.
So that isn't exactly what matters to us. And just because someone's, we see this all the time. This track of good coordinator, go be a head coach, not work, and then can still go be a good coordinator. So what is important to us is what you think about his defensive scheme. I know it's traditionally more of a 3-4. So we're looking at 3 big defensive tackles, which when we get to goodbye friends and hello friends, we'll address, but mainly using 3 big defensive tackles, your 2 edge rushers pretty much outside the tackle in most base sets, and allowing your linebacker behind those 3 defensive tackles to really be able to roam free and penetrate gaps.
Of which you now only have 2 of, not 3. In base defense.
At the linebacker position. Yeah, correct. We're going to have 3 big run stuffers. And then you'd have Parsons and let's say Nessie. Yeah. On lining up pretty much head on or outside the tackle. And then you would have Edgerrin Cooper and whoever else we're going to put there at linebacker. That's the base set. Yes, sir.
That's the way it works. Different. You kind of have 5 men on the line of scrimmage, basically, being the big difference versus 4 in a 4-3.
But those linebackers, they gotta read and they gotta get there because there is much less like around them and behind them. Like you don't have another linebacker there if you miss.
They have to kind of cover more space individually.
Yeah.
Now, in theory, more of the offensive line should be covered, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's the concept.
They should take on less blocks from linemen, in theory.
In theory.
So we'll see. Yeah, they kind of held their cards close to the vest on whether or not we had actually moved to a 3-4. Because Jonathan Gannon still hasn't done his introductory press conference. He's been hired for like 2 months. So 3 months. I don't know what we're doing. Why we won't let the man
sketch.
Talk. Maybe they watched Hard Knocks and was like, nah, we're good. He's just never going to see a microphone.
That's not fair to the quality of our show though. Like Gannon, I need stuff for content. If I'm thinking about draft prospects, like let me hear words that you use. Let me hear how you love people, bro. Like,
and especially coming from Hafley, stark difference. Because Hafley,
gosh, such a downgrade and like how much I want to run through a wall for you. I would have done anything for Jeff Hafley, bro. I would listen to Jeff Hafley then go to the gym.
100%.
100%. I'd die for that man in a heartbeat.
Such a good speaker.
No, I was gonna do a spoiler. I'll save it for later.
Yeah, save it for later. But some of the other coaching moves we did on the defensive side tipped their hand, right? So now we have an outside linebackers coach, not just a linebackers coach. We have an outside linebackers coach, a defensive line coach, and a linebackers coach. You only do that and separate the outside backers from the backers if you'd run a 3-4. So
let me pause you for a moment.
Yep.
So going back to the 3-4 like we had under Dom Capers. So when we're classifying, we would call
And
all
Pettin.
of our and Pettin,
Yeah.
all of our edge rushers, the outside linebackers, and then every traditional off-ball linebacker that we had, whether it was Mike, Sam, or Will. So people by the name of Isaiah McDuffie, Edgerrin Cooper, other name I'm not going to, like Tyrone Hopper, other name I'm not going to say yet. Like those people are all just inside linebackers, off-ball linebackers. Correct?
Correct.
Wonderful. See, folks, we're on the same page, and that probably taught you something too.
So it should be interesting. Gannon historically has run a lot of cover 4, which will be interesting, which is not what Hafley ran necessarily. So I think overall the scheme will look annoyingly similar. I think there's going to be a lot of keep everything underneath you, all that kind of stuff, rally to the football. All the
Bend
stuff
but don't
hate.
break, boys.
Correct. Which we saw the two sides of that coin perfectly last year, right? The beginning of the year, we saw how that play style can be suffocating. Because it was, especially at the beginning of the year, right? They catch the ball for 2 yards and we'd swarm them, tackle them. That's not sustainable. End of the year, no pass rush. Things can develop a little bit more. Now those 2-yard completions are 10, 12, and we're just dying, right? We can't get off the field. So I think a lot of that is due to LaFleur. I think that's the kind of defense he likes to have on the team, which I hate. I absolutely hate that kind of defense. Let your guys be aggressive. Let them go make plays. But it should be interesting because it does, in theory, I think, keep the cornerbacks in a little bit safer position than they probably were in Hafley's scheme. There's going to be a lot of help over the top, so we're going to see a lot of 2 safeties high instead of 1 safety. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how that dynamic shifts.
For sure. The only thing that, like, okay, I don't want to say the only thing that excites me about him in a negative way, like his scheme, but the one thing I'm looking forward to is that he did a lot with Buda Baker, a unique kind of hybrid safety archetype, a little smaller dude. You know, we know that Buda's played like an old school football player where he sacrifices his body and his career has kind of suffered for it. But just a dude where as an offense, you have to know where he is on the field. And I could see Gannon using especially X, but also Evan Williams. And they just kind of like, you know, let him sit around in the middle zone and cover 1. We go to it occasionally and just like play robber and just, you know, if the quarterback thinks it's man, you go over the middle. He's watching his eyes. Like, we have a couple guys that couldn't do that. And I think that variety, like you said, it'll be interesting to see what Gannon decides to do with the pieces he has.
Very interesting because he has a lot of good pieces, right? The safeties are phenomenal, right? That's a position group that we are locked down on. Gannon has had a history of pretty strong defensive lines. Curious to see how that works. As we'll talk about, one of the newcomers had his best years in a similar system to Gannon's. So hopefully that helps.
Exact system.
In his exact system. You're correct.
Yeah.
So hopefully that helps. It should be interesting. It should be interesting because I think while Hafley was really good and focused in on the DBs, I think Gannon's a little bit more of an upfront guy. At least historically, that's where his groups have overperformed outside of like Buda.
All right, I'm gonna pause. I want to circle back to something. I personally think that based on what I watched, I think his base is 3-3-5.
Okay.
I guess if you're sort of like base 3-4 defense, but I think most of the time his defense was 3-3-5, like a nickel, right? I think we can agree like are usually a nickel.
Yeah. I actually think the last year or two that trend's been coming down a little bit. We're still playing a lot of nickel.
Thank God.
But
thank God.
Because a lot of teams are running more 2 tight end sets and stuff like that.
For sure. Okay, I just wanted to touch base about that because then that's where you have 3 down, the ends on the outside, and then 1 backer because you're a nickel with 3 corners.
Yeah, I don't love that.
I don't love that either. And there's a little bit of the this might be like nitpicking, but with the 3-4 as a whole, then I feel like Micah is a little further away from the play. Which, when it's a pass rush, you can just speed around. But if it's a run, like you can run to the opposite side, and he's naturally lined up further than he would be in a 4-3 because there's another body next to him. Geometry, folks.
Yeah, he does have to run a little bit further. Yeah, good point. Good point.
All right. I'm just going to take a moment to tell everyone to grab your tissue boxes. This may be a hard segment for all of us, Lucas. I'm saying easiest way to think about it is we go position room by position room.
I think that makes sense.
We say goodbye to old friends.
Let's do it.
So at the top, he had to be the captain of the ship. He had to be the hero that we didn't know that we needed and that we certainly didn't deserve. Malik Willis was a man among men who brought the read option and pistol offense to a team that we never thought in the wildest of dreams we could have ever seen. Something so beautiful, something so rhythmic, something so pure in green and gold. He silenced the doubters. Everyone that doubted him in Tennessee, everyone said he wasn't going to be shit.
Which was everybody, by the way.
Except for one. But I wish you nothing but the best. You are joining Jeff Hafley in Miami, and just like this is what I was going to say earlier, just like how I would die for Jeff Hafley, you are going to die for Jeff Hafley because they have nothing around him. It's him and Devon Achane, and I fear that people are just going to look at Malik as like, oh, he was only going to Green Bay because of the weapons, because nobody is going to succeed in that offense throwing to fucking Josh Reynolds as like the only wide receiver. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. Read option, like him and Achane, they won't have a chance. They won't have a chance. Am I wrong?
No, because they traded away Waddle. They got absolutely nothing.
No. Okay, I'll save my thoughts. Sorry.
What a fun read option though between him and Achane. That's going to be a blast.
They're going to get blasted. That's for sure.
Yeah, bad offensive line. Yeah, they're in for a long season. Season. I feel a little bad for Jeff and Malik down there, and everybody else because they took a ton of people with them. But Malik, it's what a good redemption story, right? He at one point in time was mocked like first overall in that draft, which was hilarious because he never should have. After he came out of Liberty as a super raw athlete playing quarterback, and got chucked in. He should have redshirted his entire first year. He got chucked into like the second or third game of the year, I think, his rookie season, and looked awful. But people paying attention should have known that. He was nowhere near ready to start a quarterback in the NFL. And then eventually...
The humans you play with in college were different humans from the humans everyone else played with in college, and the humans you're going to see in the NFL. It was like going from driving around the parking lot to the expressway.
Completely different ball game, right? Completely different ball game. And his strengths were not processing and all that kind of stuff that would help you succeed at the next level, kind of regardless. So he needed a lot of time to kind of sit, learn, be taught, understand the NFL before he even should have ever stepped on the field. That didn't happen, so they kicked him to the curb for Mayo man Will Levis, who also failed in Tennessee, who they kicked to the curb for Cam Ward, who didn't look great last year in Tennessee. So I think it's just Tennessee. They have no idea what they're doing with quarterbacks. But
it's so the curse of Vince Young, bro.
It really is. But so then he comes here, right? We trade a 7th round draft pick. He comes here right before the season. Okay, cool. Sounds like a fun backup because we hated all of ours and released them all.
True.
And then he has to play like a couple weeks later, right? And he looks good. And how is that possible? He wasn't even in the system. He didn't know what was going on. And I think part of the really fun aspect of the Malik experience was it allowed Matt to really get in his bag of tricks, right? We started pulling out literally junior high offense plays with that spinner stuff, right? Like
And
that's
it
not
was
even
incredible, bro.
that's not even used in high school, not college, not high school. That's like pee wee football, and it was awesome, and it worked.
Yeah.
So just kind of seeing what Matt could do with an athlete of that caliber, because Malik's a freak, absolutely a freak of nature.
That's my coin term.
That is your coin term. Absolute freak of nature at the quarterback position, and seeing him mature, right? Because it relied a lot on we're just not going to throw the ball in 2025. Was that the Colts game we just like didn't throw?
I mean, it was rare, but he.
But
He
this
threw the ball.
last year, right in 2025,
Oh,
you
he
could
was
see the
bro,
progression. You could
He
see
was
the progression.
slinging. He was
slanging it.
slinging.
He was slanging that thing. He was running all over the field. He looked awesome. Looked like so much fun.
Bro, at the end there, you're talking about like if we're watching an all-time quarterback run highlight video, I'm talking like a lot of Michael Vick, Randall Cunningham, Lamar Jackson. There are a few runs from the Ravens and Bears games and just like plays that are on there for sure. And that is not an over-exaggeration. That is just straight fact.
He has an insane ability outside of even just his athletic ability to run the football. Like running the football is a very natural, instinctive thing, right? Making people miss is you need to have some sort of athleticism, but at the end of the day, it's 90% instincts. And understanding leverages and geometry in a blink of an eye, right? And he has that ability, and I look forward to seeing him. I'm glad he's going to a team with like some cool uniforms so I can root for him in the AFC. You know, it's going to be fun to watch him run around. He's going to die, unfortunately, but I'm glad he got the money, right? Glad he got some money to go get his shot after Tennessee let him down, and we got to be his home for a couple years during the Reclamation Project. So really proud of him, man. I mean, he's my favorite backup quarterback that we've had. Outside of Scott Tolzien and the actual number one run of all time from quarterback.
Oh, no. Don't. From zone. Don't do that. And you know the thing with Malik, too, is when you were just finishing up there and I realized that we should have peace that he's going to be good no matter what because the heart that he has, the amount of money that he just got, he's going to be able to take care of some of his family forever, and he's not going to give a shit if they win 2 games in Miami. He's going to be like, it was worth it. And this terrible record is not on me. And know your truth, Malik. Know your truth.
This is a great time to bring up a story from him at the NFL Combine. Do you remember seeing this? So he was at the NFL Combine, right? And as part of the NFL Combine, you get a ton of free gear, a ton of NFL branded whatever stuff, shirts, pants, whatever. And he saw this homeless lady on the ground outside of the Combine. And he just went over there, opened up his suitcase, and started giving her free stuff. Started giving her clothes that he had just gotten for free from the NFL Combine. And what is, for a lot of people, one of the biggest days or biggest times, biggest moments of their life, right? Making it to the Combine, getting all the NFL branded gear. He gave that away to try to help another random person he never met before, that he just saw on the street that needed some help.
He's him, bro. He's him. Don't worry, folks. We are not going to have like 15-minute eulogies for every Packer person we lost. Just a couple.
Malik's definitely, he will be missed.
I mean, he is the most painful loss, for sure. For sure. Okay. To the running back room, Emmanuel Wilson walked. He went to Seattle. I would have liked to have him back. If we draft somebody in the draft, I anticipate there's a good chance he would have been better than him. But for an undrafted free agent who showed a lot of pop and heart as RB2 throughout his career, even last year there were games where maybe it was the defense getting tired in the second half, but we saw Emmanuel Wilson have a higher yards per carry and just look a little shiftier than Jacobs. I'll miss you. I appreciate you, but, you know, it's okay.
He's replaceable, right? I feel either in the draft or if the legend of, or I shouldn't say legend, if the rumor of Marshawn Lloyd is true, that he is a real person, you know, he'll be better than Emmanuel Wilson if he sees the field. But another great story, man. Like, undrafted, and now he's just got a decent chunk of change. He's going to get a ton of carries in Seattle.
For sure. They're going to love him.
He's more or less replacing Kenneth Walker, right? It's going to be him and Charbonnet out there.
And he's the shiftier vibe that they're going to want.
Yep.
You know, they run the little speed and then the power, and, well, Charbonnet's the power still, so de facto.
Exactly. He's going to get a lot of run out there, which is great. He came in on the games that Jacobs was hurt. Came in, gave some great performances. Nothing but love for the guy. I wasn't heartbroken. It makes sense. He needs to go see if he can make this work, right? Get a better shot, some more carries, because you're never going to be more than the RB2 here, right? You're not going to be RB1A or 1B, right?
No.
Behind Jacobs. So, yeah, go get some money, go get some more playing time. Really happy for everything that he gave us, right? He played well, and he did his job. That's all we can ask.
For sure. No fullback in the receiver room, Romeo Doubs. We knew.
Yeah.
There were like rumors of contracts talks happening, and there's just no way. We got too many good receivers. I'm happy for him in New England. I think that him and Drake May, they're going to vibe. He's going to put up good numbers. I was telling my sister's brother-in-law, who's a Patriots fan, I was like, yeah, like you got a good one. He's like, I wasn't sure. And I was like, he can be inconsistent, but when he's on, you will love that man.
Yeah, he's not going to go out there and put up 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns or something, but like he's going to be a good receiver for them. And it'll be interesting to see potentially on a little bit more volume what he's going to be capable of out there. But yeah, there was no way we're going to be able to keep him back. And at some point, and this is no slight to Romeo, he's a great receiver for us, right? He's the source of possibly the greatest single moment in the history of this podcast. But he...
True.
I was waiting for you to say something. But at some point, we know what Romeo is, at least in this offense, in this amount of targets, right? I don't think he's necessarily a ton better than Wicks, right? They both play like the similar style, right? I would say.
I would even say leaving last season, I'd take Wicks over Romeo.
That's kind of my point. I think they're pretty even. Now, some of that's Wicks hasn't had that opportunity, the volume, right? So we don't know for sure, but they're similar kind of guys. And at some point, you got to clear some room for some of these other potentially far more dynamic wide receivers we have, in obviously Golden, and then also a little bit Savion. Like, there's no point in spending a first and a third on a wide receiver if they never get the chance to catch a football because you have Romeo, Christian, and Wicks in front of them the whole time. So at some point, you have to clear some space so these young guys can grow into much bigger roles, and especially because they're both more dynamic than Romeo ever has been, there's a much higher ceiling there potentially. So it was going to happen. I appreciate everything he's done. The Dallas playoff game, right? Like, he has had some incredible moments and been very clutch for us. He's also been very frustrating at times, but I'm glad that he got to end his Packer tenure on a good note, which after the issues, not last year, but the year previous, right, where he got suspended for a game, wasn't sure that this was going to be able to be played out smoothly, but I'm glad it was. Everybody mended fences. He got to finish out his contract here. Wish you nothing but the best in New England.
Wish there could have been some different moments towards the end of your contract and playing time in Green Bay.
Yes.
But overall, there is that, one thing.
Hold on. We also have to mention, for a fourth-round pick, incredible value.
Incredible value. Yep.
Right?
100%.
Incredible value. Like, phenomenal draft pick. You may be frustrated with Romeo at times. You may not think he's the greatest receiver in the world. But go look at every year the fourth-round draft picks and see how many of them you've ever heard of before, right? It's not going to be a lot that actually make an impact on the NFL level, and Romeo definitely did.
For sure. All right. I feel like we can probably turn and burn through a few of these.
Yeah.
And I'll need your help going off the top of my head. Okay. So, tight end room, we brought back Josh Wiley. And I feel like if people are free agents, we should mention it. So, Wiley came back, and John Fitzpatrick is still out there. I thought he was fine. He's probably upgradable, but if he comes back for a vet min, I'm cool with that.
I think he's still just out there because of the injury. He might be, once he gets healthy, we bring him back at the beginning of the year or something like that.
Then I'm just going to, offensive line as a whole, So we re-signed Sean Ryan to take care of center, which was huge.
I really that's the move I wanted. I didn't want us to go get somebody else because I figured Sean Ryan was equal to most of them outside of maybe Lindebaum, but we weren't going to pay that contract. And he's
Correct.
younger, and he just played the position for the first time at the NFL level, right? It's not like he's been practicing this for years like the rest of the guys. He's younger. I think he has more upside. Pretty team-friendly contract. He's who I wanted. He played well. No snap problems with Jordan consistently or anything like that. I think that was a really good move.
Happy he's back. Happy Elton Jenkins is gone. Last year at center, he was abysmal.
He was abysmal and then got hurt.
And was an insult to his time as the Packers with his level of play. It's hard to have the image of him in our uniform playing that poorly. So he is now in Cleveland. Who else? Rasheed Walker signed super late with the Carolina Panthers.
For no money.
So the thought behind that is, I believe is it Ike Ekwonu is their left tackle?
So yeah,
they drafted last year.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be really good, and he's going to be hurt for most of this next season. So sign him to a 1-year deal, which works for Rasheed. I mean, he had okay money. It wasn't terrible.
But it was literally a quarter of what he thought he was going to get.
And less than, we probably could have kept him for that in reality.
Yeah, for sure. But once again,
he's going to
clear
go
space.
play left tackle for a year. Well, I'm happy we cleared space, but for him, play left tackle in a year for Carolina, and then that's your audition for when you're a free agent next year because they're not going to need you again because he should be back.
Right.
Ekwonu.
Then go make a ton more money. But yeah, clear space. At some point, Jordan Morgan has to play left tackle. We have to know if he's a good left tackle.
For sure.
Right? Because we keep moving all these guys around, and they're in preseason and training camp at one position, and then something happens, and then where they actually end up playing is a completely different position. He's not a good guard. We drafted him as a left tackle. Rasheed was not very good for us last year. Put Jordan Morgan in left tackle, move on with our lives. But once again, 7th round draft pick, Rasheed Walker.
Oh, incredible. Incredible. Value.
So people can be mad at some of these players, right, in their performance, but still, 7th round draft picks never do anything in the NFL, essentially. So to get a starting left tackle out of one for several years, great job. And no ill will towards Rasheed. He played relatively well until this contract year. Sucks to be him. He lost a lot of money because of it.
Agreed. And then, were there any other significant losses on the offensive line? It just feels like we got down to our 5 starters, and then we did keep Kennard, thank God, because he's just anyone goes down, you plug in Kennard whenever, however you can.
Yep. I like that.
So
good depth.
Good depth. Happy he's back. That play against the Bears was iconic, so I love that guy.
Always.
To defensive line we go.
Yep.
Thank you, Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones, everybody. Biggest Green Bay Packer fan that I know. We were so excited to cut Rashawn Gary's ass. We didn't care about the cap hit. We didn't care about nothing. He was gone. He couldn't hurt me anymore. I was free from the boogeyman. Indeed, I was. And instead, Jerry Jones called up the Packers and said, hey, I'll take Rashawn Gary off you for a 4th round pick. And Matt LaFleur had to hold his audible laughs as he said, absolutely. Thank you. So they come and pick trash off of our yard and give us a 4th round pick. Thank you, Dallas. So he is now gone. JJ Enigbari, the ever first predicted player in our mock draft of this show.
Correct. Nice job, buddy.
South Carolina's own. Thank you, sir. He took a 1 or 2 year deal.
1 year, $10 million, I believe.
Yeah, with the Jets. So he is
now
going to be in New York. Yeah, good for him. Love the dude. He was always better than a 5th round pick should have been. He had his occasional moments, and in some games, he would randomly, once or twice a year, be the best edge rusher we had.
Yep.
But hard, tough guy, good against the run.
I wanted him back.
I'm a little sad to see him go.
Yeah, I wanted him back on a cheap deal, but on $10 million, we just can't. We can't do that. We're not in a position to give that to somebody who's not going to start all year, And so if you think about it, over the course of 2 years, right, we get Micah Parsons and a 4th round pick. They get Kenny Clark, aging Kenny Clark, now terrible Rashawn Gary, and 2 first round picks. I'm good with that. That seems like a solid overall deal.
Yeah, we're winning for sure. But I love you, Jerry Jones. Like
Keep it up, man.
You're a kind soul, sir.
Who can we give you next year?
Yeah. Keyshawn Nixon for a first.
I'd take Keyshawn for like a fifth or something. Whatever. We'd figure something out.
No, but it's Jerry. It would be
Jerry,
a first.
So maybe a second.
Keyshawn's like, I'm number one corner in the league, baby. And Jerry would believe him.
He would. So we got to go back to Rashawn Gary for a second, because there was a brief moment in time where we thought Rashawn Gary was that guy, right before the ACL.
Like 2020, 2021? Dude, I re-listened to old shows to see how I do in our drafts, and we're talking about Rashawn Gary being one of the best edge rushers in the league. And for moments, he was.
There was like a season where he was.
He was. That was real.
And then he got paid, and then he got hurt, and then that was it.
How the mighty have fallen.
Which sucks, because he always seemed like a good guy, right? Team captain. I just don't know where the motor went. For someone who was drafted as an athletic freak with a crazy motor and not much else, where did the motor go? So the motor left. The athleticism isn't what it was due to the injuries. Just doesn't leave you with a lot, you know? Doesn't leave you with a lot.
Leaves me calling for, pleading for, crying for, if you kept the receipt here, as we went into Chicago, please let us try something else. Deactivate Rashawn Gary and activate Colin Oliver. And I was 150% serious, not even saying that just to make you happy.
He's good against the run, so his use could definitely be in like situational type stuff, early down, have him just play the run, whatever. He's a rotational guy, which he couldn't be for us anymore, right? He needs to go to another team and take a smaller role. Right,
that was too much. That was too much praise for me. I don't know if you guys could hear me laughing in the background, but I was giving Luke like the biggest stink guy in the world.
He was a good run defender. The pass rush just disappeared. I don't know what happened to it. So yeah, a little bit of a bust of a first round pick there, unfortunately. Yeah, that kind of sucks. But overall, we definitely lost some depth on the edge. That's for sure. And inside.
Defensive. Yeah. The defensive tackle. Here we go. So we're going to keep with the script of our show and only tell you half of the news here. We traded defensive tackle Kobe Wooden for a piece on the Colts defense. We'll get into that when we get back to Hello Friends, because we're going to stay Hello New Friends, because we're going to stay with the script of the show. So Kobe Wooden is gone.
Kobe Jack.
Not great. Kobe Jack, who, as we might remember, definitely rooting for. Definitely a lot of Colby Jack jokes that first game of the year.
Yep.
But we needed another defensive tackle. And all of a sudden it was just like, he's just going to switch to defensive tackle and gain 50 pounds and be massive. And when we saw the pictures, bro, that was insanity. I was afraid. He was huge. Yep. He was Colby jacked. Now, did he look like a serviceable or maybe even slightly above average / serviceable defensive tackle when Devontae Wyatt was still in?
Yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly pleased with his play. And assuming he's next to Devontae Wyatt, I would have been happy to keep him as a starter going into this next season. Could you upgrade him with a third-round pick? Probably. That's not a crazy thought, but fourth-round pick being our second defensive tackle and how good he was, I didn't love the move, so he's now gone. I think Jordan Riley, the Giants one that we signed, is still on the roster, so we still have another body, kind of. Jonathan Ford, wearing 64, good Lord, is still there. And then the rest of the boys. But I think, I don't want to say it was just Colby, but Colby was the only one that we lost. But that was significant.
Really the only significant one. And once again, he's a starting defensive lineman for a fourth-round pick. That's great value coming out of Auburn.
And he was the edge rusher one. Yeah.
No, Carl was the edge rusher.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Because we got him and Carl in the same draft.
What a pair.
Honestly, I'm a little sad we broke him up.
Me too.
But yeah, especially because I think actually Kobe Jack he could probably slim back down a little bit. Poor guy.
Oh no.
It'd be great at one of the D tackle positions in a 3-4. That's probably what he actually should have been this whole time, right? Just given his natural size coming out of college, that makes a lot more sense than bulking up to play nose tackle. But when we got rid of Kenny on short notice, somebody's got to play nose tackle. You're up, man. And he did a serviceable job. I think a lot of the problems he had, he just could not stand up to an entire game's worth of snaps. I think with how injured our defensive line got, that we just went down the toilet pretty quick there. But overall, gonna miss you, Kobe Jacked. You and Carl were quite the tandem coming out of college that we had a lot of fun with. So, yeah, I don't think it's gonna end up being a huge loss for us, but he's a guy I'm gonna be a little sadder, a little bit more sad that's leaving than I would have expected. You know, when I saw that trade come through, I was like, oh, Kobe. I like Kobe.
Yeah.
Coming out of college, I preferred Carl. Kobe really grew on me, especially with his performance early in the year. So, have fun in Indianapolis.
To linebacker we go, where we have another big one. Quay Walker, the Georgia Bulldog. I, again, was not very surprised that he would not take a team-friendly deal. He got much more money going to play for the Raiders than he would have for us.
When he thought he was going to get even more money. The linebackers did not get paid like they thought they were. Him and Devin Lloyd.
I feel like Quay was wonderful for a lot of last year. I know, like, with the rest of the defense, his play dropped off, but when Micah was healthy and we had Quay and Edgerrin Cooper, they were out just hunting folks. They were hunting. So I am sad to see him go, and I am curious and closely watching our moves to replace him. And it is a little different because we're most of the time only going to have 2 off-ball linebackers out there. But with this scheme, it is very important who that other person is. So it's a definite hole. Quay had his character concerns earlier with, having his temper tantrums, being too emotional. I still love the dude and rooted for him. I hope he does well for the Raiders.
I hope so too. He, I guess, made a comment kind of talking about how he felt he was utilized incorrectly this last year in Hafley's defense, especially once Micah went out. I think, like you said, that kind of just killed the defense as a whole. He needs to be in a position where he just doesn't have to think and attack, use his crazy size and athleticism, right? And the longer the play's developed, with Micah not there to put pressure on the quarterback or the running back, the worse things got, right? So he was never as good in coverage as he should have been, but he was a lot of fun, and he had a nice redemption story, I would say, coming off the character concerns early on that we were there for, by the way. We were at that game.
Indeed we were, yes, sir.
We were there, but really nice redemption story. He really grew and matured after that, became a captain. I was proud of where he was progressing, and that we're both a sucker for crazy athletic linebackers, and he definitely was that. So he'll be missed. It will be interesting to see kind of what our linebackers look like going forward, which we'll talk about in a second.
To corner we go. Biggest one that comes to mind, Packers cut Nate Hobbs. And that little sack of shit just wants me to hate him for the rest of his life because he went to the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to pay him $10 an hour at most.
Yep.
Because we're still paying him. So they got him on a super cheap deal. And now he's going to go do things for them and be healthy.
I felt bad about this one. Right? Of the 2 players that we signed last offseason, the one I had more hope for this year was probably Nate Hobbs, which may sound crazy between him and Aaron Banks. But it just felt like he was never healthy last year. He never really had a chance to show what he could do, right? In training camp, apparently he was phenomenal. Got hurt, came back, played really well for like a half, I thought, and then got hurt again. And that was it. He was done. So it never made a ton of sense when we signed him, right? Just what he was supposed to be, what he was supposed to do in this defense. But I felt like this year was going to be a kind of a return to form for him, So it's a bummer that we have to pay him to return to form on someone else's team, especially the 49ers of all things considered. But he didn't really have a home on defense. So I get it. It saved us a lot of money. Will save us a lot of money.
When the Packers 49ers playoff game comes down to Bo Melton versus Nate Hobbs, I like it a lot.
That's fair.
I like it a lot. Yes, sir. All right. This one's maybe unexpectedly, maybe much more so very expectedly. Oh, before I get to my soap opera, Kamal Haddon's back, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I kind of liked what I saw. When he played for like 4 snaps before he got hurt, he
looked fine. Yeah.
Serviceable. Yeah. Like a great UDFA, which is exactly what he is.
Correct.
So, so surprisingly and unsurprisingly, but honestly really not very surprising. Luke and I are both devastated.
We are. I already know
that we were insane. We were insane not to resign Zane. I don't know what we're doing. Do we not care about special teams? Zane was great. When he went at safety, he was serviceable. He had an interception.
I thought he was like legitimately pretty decent. I thought he was pretty good when he played at safety. He had a couple nice plays against the Lions too in run support. He had an interception.
It was good.
I was like, this guy looks like a legitimate player.
And the Miami Dolphins think so too, because now he's their starting strong safety.
I love that. Good for him, man. I'm going to play as that team a lot in Madden.
Oh, dude. I mean, Malik, Zane, Devin Achan, that's it. Like, if you're trying to save a team from brokenness, that's a perfect one to choose, sir.
It is. But yeah, we're going to miss Zane, who was kind of the original. We didn't know if he was real or not because he was hurt like as soon as we signed him or whatever. But yeah, big, tall, athletic safety. Love it. Loved it. Played well whenever his name was called. Loved it. But yeah, there's absolutely no reason for him to still be on the team at this point. Because a lot of people close to the team, it sounds like, think that Oladapo is like a legitimate starting safety in the NFL.
That's what I was going to say. We got Catan, so let's see what the man can do.
We're good at safety. We're fine. And we have Bullard who can play safety if we need to because of injuries or whatever. So we have phenomenal starting safeties. We have good depth. And like I said, Catan is viewed, it sounds like, is like he would start on most other teams. And he doesn't even see the field for us.
He is 6'2". You know how I feel about that.
I know.
All right. I say we switch around a little bit. And how about you, Lucas? How about you tell us about our new friends?
Okay. Let's get to it, shall we?
Indeed.
The other half of the Kobe Wooden trade. Let's start there. Okay.
Right.
Let's start there. We only did one offensive transaction. We'll save that to the end. Oh, actually, we should mention that we brought back Christian Welch and Ben Neiman. So we have a million linebackers again.
We got both Jameses are intact.
Yep.
And one Juice Man.
Correct. Well, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
So let's talk about Zaire Franklin. So we traded Kobe Wooden away for Zaire Franklin, a linebacker from the Colts, right? Who had a down year this last year. Previous couple years was a real standout performer for them. A very different kind of linebacker, I think, than we're necessarily used to, and definitely described as a dog, right?
Oh, he's mean out there.
He's really mean. He's got some edge that Quay has never had, right?
Oh, yeah.
So a little bit undersized for us because we like big linebackers for the most part.
He's like 5'11".
Yeah, that's not our thing. 'Cause if it was, we would have taken Nakobe Dean instead of Quay Walker, but we didn't. So not good in coverage. Not good in coverage at all, right? Not his thing. Great in the run. I'm talking about when he was good anyways. Great in the run and a little bit of some ball instinct, I would say, right? He's a little bit of a playmaker.
Incredible with forcing fumbles. The Colts game that I went to, I remember there was just like one bad play, and it was a Josh Jacobs fumble on the 3-yard line.
You're right. That
Guess
was
who
him.
did that?
That was him.
He did a lot of stuff like that, whether it's him initiating the contact or coming in late. Like, He is a dog. We do not have to worry about effort with him at all.
He's kind of the anti-Quay, right? He's not a crazy physical freak. He's not huge. He's an absolute dog. Not saying that Quay's not, but this guy's a dog, right? And a playmaker. And Quay just could not complete turnover plays, right, to save his life.
How many picks did he have in his hand with that beautiful frame? He'd go up and, they're trying to throw behind him, and it's right there, Quay. You're right there. Catch the damn ball.
He could never make it happen, but Zaire makes it happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say character concerns, but there's a little bit there. He's another guy with a podcast, apparently. I don't love that. I don't love that Micah has one either. Leave that to the professionals, right?
And Luke is pointing at me and himself.
Obviously,
this is the time. It needs to be a video show, but
this is the one time. Yeah. So very interesting. Now he's not older, but he's like 28 years old, right?
He's like 30, bro.
30. Oh, my bad. I was thinking of the
maybe
Juice Man 2.0.
He's up there for sure.
Which is out of character for us a little bit. Which means we're only going to keep him around for a couple years, probably.
He's literally, bro. He's straight up perfect comp for this dude. He's a bounty hunter for hire, and that's what he's going to do.
Which is going to be super interesting. It's going to be super interesting.
Oh, yeah. Just let Zaire, like Jair was crazy, Zaire going to be even a little zestier Jair. That's why he's Zaire. Mic drop.
I think what this can do, as I'm ignoring Devin, I think what this could do for us a little bit is hopefully really free up Edge, right? I'm hoping that this really frees up Edge because Zaire's going to be the downhill thumper all day, right? That's not really Edge's game. So I'm interested to see how those two play with each other. We actually, after we traded for him, we gave him a raise, which was weird. So he was on a pretty team-friendly contract, and we made it less team-friendly. Odd. Gave him a couple extra $1 million. So clearly,
and he was coming off an injury.
Yes.
So there was no reason for us to feel the need to do that.
Absolutely none. So there's some question marks, but like we mentioned earlier, his best years were with Gannon. So he should be good. In theory, right? He should return to form.
Zaire Franklin?
He should be good.
He was with Gannon?
No, but Gannon's scheme, I mean.
Oh, yeah. Because you have, like, the Colts are the same thing, where you have the three big defensive tackles, and then you just have to read. And he reads quickly, and he shoots quickly, too. Like you said, he's the run thumper, that archetype, all day.
He's going to be in the backfield, bringing down running backs a lot more than we're used to, right?
I think we should at least pose the question, have the idea, like, can we do something else when it's 3rd and 12 as the linebacker?
Get him off the field. Get him off the field.
Ideally, yeah. And granted, our team's going to take advantage of that then. Are you going to line up with 2 or 3 tight ends on the field in early downs and run play action to expose him? They're going to try.
Mm-hmm.
Just things to think about.
So it's going to be interesting. It's a type of linebacker we haven't really had since like we kept having the revolving door of like Antonio Morrison, that group.
I was going to say he reminds me of Antonio Morrison.
But better, I would say.
Better.
He's
not, the thing is in coverage, it's not like he's super slow. He's not an athletic freak like Quay. He just sometimes seems to get a little lost.
Right, he just doesn't necessarily know what's happening.
Like you said about his playmaking ability, though, like he will respond to the ball in the air and has gotten interceptions off of his own fruition and also off deflections because he's a dog and is going to run to the ball.
Correct. So I'm super interested to see what this looks like with him. Moving on, we're gonna save your guy for last, just FYI. Javon Hargrave. Okay, so we signed this defensive lineman Javon Hargrave as I don't really know what. Nose tackle, defensive tackle, not really sure. Defensive end.
I think defensive tackle. Like he would be. I don't think he's gonna play nose. I think it's gonna be like probably Wyatt at nose and then him and Wyatt on the other sides. But I don't think it's gonna be a nose.
I hope not, but I'm afraid he might be. So he came from last year. He played for the Vikings, right? And they asked him to play nose for the first time in his career. Previously, he was with the Steelers, with the Eagles, with the 49ers, 2-time Pro Bowler, older guy again, 33. But he's been a good player his entire career, right? He's just been a good defensive lineman his entire career. Last year was really the first time he's ever asked to play nose with Minnesota when they brought him and Jonathan Allen in. He ended up kind of getting benched last year for a rookie that started playing really well for them, but he kind of played out of position, right? I'm curious how we're going to play him. Ideally, he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't play nose tackle. He's one of the ends. Wyatt's the other end, and we have some big boy to be named later playing nose. I feel very good about that because Javon Hargrave is a legitimate NFL defensive lineman that is going to make plays, right? With him and Wyatt, that's really strong. I feel really good about that if we just find a hefty boy for the middle, right? I don't want him to necessarily play that, except in passing situations. Then I'm all for it, right? Kick him inside and get some pass rush there. Love that idea potentially. But it's interesting. We normally don't go for just good veterans that have played well their entire career that are on the older side. It's very odd. This is not a very us signing, but he got cut from the Vikings, so he was cheap. So we went for it.
And this is the position, I think, to do it historically. There's been times where we've been begging for us to just sign like a 30 to 33-year-old defensive tackle because I feel like that group, it depends a little bit player to player, but compared to other positions, falls off the least.
Yeah, you can still be good then.
You can still be a run stuffer and run downs, which is what we need at 32, 33, 34. Perfectly fine.
Yep.
I mean, Calais Campbell is 48, and we could sign him, and I'd be happy. So no ageism there in the big body defensive line room in the slightest. With him, I mean, I also do have a high opinion of him, and I certainly think Lucas, is he better than Carl Brooks?
Yeah.
Is he better than Stackhouse?
Yeah.
Better than Brinson?
Yep.
Absolutely, this is the smart move, and right now he's defensive tackle too, and the thought that it was going to be Carl going in was horrifying.
Yeah, everyone knows we love Carl. Not that much, right?
He's a folk hero. He comes out of nowhere and does something, and it's significant because the rest of the time
he doesn't do anything.
He doesn't do anything. I still love him to death. I think I would have been much more sad if he was gone than Colby. I was so sad about Colby, but Carl is different. He is in a league of his own.
I agree completely. So yeah, very interesting, very not us signing, but I think really helps raise the floor of that defensive line group.
Absolutely. It gives me peace for sure. And then makes us less desperate when it comes to the draft.
Exactly. And he can play both potential positions we need, just one probably a little better than the other. But at least there's another big body, if nothing else. I said we're going to save your guy for last. So that means that Sky Moore, wide receiver, is up next. Sky Moore, really interesting guy.
You bring up a chief. You bring up a chief before my boy.
I do.
Okay.
Okay. Well, he's on the 49ers last year. Does that make you feel better?
Yeah, so even better, Lucas. I mean, I'm happy he's here, but the track history...
I'm obviously I'm saving the best for last.
He needs to apologize, and yes, you are.
I'm saving the best for last. So, Sky Moore, with 2 Ys, drafted out of Western Michigan, which is why I definitely know him. Mac alum right there.
And wore 24 at receiver.
Yeah,
like
wild.
That's a choice.
A terrible
as you
choice.
Would say.
A terrible
that's
choice.
A choice.
Taken in the second round of the draft. Had a fair amount of hype coming out of college, right? Kind of seen as the next, this is a little weird, but in the MAC anyways, was kind of seen as, sort of one of the next in line, right? Greg Jennings. What's his name? What's the other guy's name from Western Michigan? Why am I blanking on this? He was taken really early.
What?
Wide receiver.
Give me a team. Was he big? Was he small? Like,
big-ish. This is gonna really annoy me. But anyway, so he's kind of the third.
What, like Braylon Edwards? Like
no,
what?
no. More recently than that. It'll come to me. It'll come to me while you're talking. So kind of the third in line of
what NFL team did he play for, bro?
Titans.
Oh God, it's the Titans, dude. They're like an abyss of knowledge. Like there's nothing there. You're right. I'm sorry.
He was in college the same time as us. Anyways, it'll come to me. It's gonna really annoy me. He grew up with NIU's backup quarterback, Ryan Graham. Anyways, so we'll get there. He's from the Chicago area. Anyways, Sky Moore was kind of the third in line there, right? You had Greg Jennings, you had guy to be named later, then you had Sky Moore, all taken in the top couple rounds of the NFL draft. Really electric player in college. It did not work at all in the NFL, right? Huge letdown for the Chiefs.
Kevin Walter.
That's not him.
Are you sure?
Corey Davis. That's it.
Okay. He also went to Eastern Michigan, though, so I'm not wrong. But I thought
No, Western Michigan.
Oh, okay. All right. My bad.
Corey Davis is who I'm thinking of. See, I told you I just need you to talk for like 30 seconds and then I'll be fine. Corey Davis and Sky Moore. Some talent there in Western Michigan. It did not really work out for Sky Moore with the Chiefs, right? They hate him in Kansas City. He did catch a game-winning Super Bowl touchdown. But
that's a life moment.
Right. But he's terrible. He has been terrible for most of his career until last year. I felt he actually looked pretty decent for the 49ers as a depth piece. They weren't relying on him to be a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 until they all got hurt again. And it was him and like Jawan Jennings lighting up. But he's a little bit smaller, 5'10", 5'11", 195, 200 pounds, something like that. Ran like 4.4 coming out of college. But his kind of claim to fame now is being a really solid returner, right? So I'm looking at him coming in being wide receiver 5 or 6, returner 1, and kind of solidifying that position so we no longer have Josh Jacobs returning kickoffs in the playoffs.
Correct. Yeah, in my mind, he is a returner that can play receiver, like how hopefully Bo Melton is a corner that can play receiver, but that's not really real there yet. But no, he will be the de facto starter, in my opinion, unless he completely muffs it away, no pun intended, in training camp to be the punt and kick returner.
It's like a way better version of what we did with Mecole Hardman,
Yeah, absolutely. But I also feel like, Sky Moore only played a few snaps at receiver for the 49ers, and like it's fine.
He looked fine.
Fine. I mean, with the rest of the boys we got, and I would still think he would be below Bo Melton. Like, he gives you as much, if not more, than Malik Heath.
Yeah, completely.
At receiver.
Yeah, I would agree. And being your returner 1, he should be our punt returner immediately. Stop with all the games there. He can be one of the kick returners. Good signing. Makes me that was one of my favorite signings because it made me just feel comfortable with the return game for once. It's like, okay, we have a plan, and this guy isn't a complete joke at his actual position. He can be useful-ish if needed.
We can look to that, and then bringing back James 2.0 and Nick Neiman and the Juice Man to like, okay, at least we did some things for special teams.
Correct.
We probably didn't get enough water out of the ship. We're still probably going to sink to our fate, but at least we got some buckets out, and we're trying.
Completely agree. Now, Devin, I turn it over to you to tell us who's going to lock down Sky Moore in practice every day.
Oh, sir. Why would you have one Juice Man when you can have 2 Juice Man? Folks, we brought in Canada's own Benjamin St. Just, 6'3" corner, 28 years old, out of
28.
Minnesota. This young man was drafted by the Commanders.
Correct.
Spent 4 years out there, little up and down. He went to the Chargers last season, was part of their rotation, but overall played well, had an interception, had 7 pass breakups. He's definitely a boundary zone corner, a cover 4 type of corner that Gannon likes because he is 6'3". He's got that length. He's got that Kevin King to him. I mean, Rasul was 6'2", and I love that, but like we ain't had someone who was 6'3" in a minute. Now, am I expecting him to come in and change the world? Absolutely not. But you cannot sit across from me and tell me that you would not be rooting for and or expect a real chance for him to take either CV or Nixon's jobs. I've heard thoughts that maybe they'll platoon, that they like St. Just more in rundowns and first down, and then maybe bring in Valentine for, third down. I might even push against that a little bit. If it's third and long and you want to go like cover 4, so you want to have that size and that leverage. So if it's 3rd and 12, put him back deep. He can cover a lot. Not going to be a world beater. At least he brings another body, because we need another body, and another body that I believe can be better than Nixon or Valentine. Gives you another flavor. You could try to put him on a tight end. Different body for sure. I'm happy with it. And then I still think we probably need to think about receiver in the draft, or not receiver, corner in the draft, but it's not like okay, now this has to be like the first or second pick that we have. He's at least, I believe, probably an upgrade over one of the two.
Fair enough. Not very often you get to talk about a football player on your team that grew up in Montreal, right? So that's kind of fun.
He's a fun dude.
I would not consider him a ball hawk by any means, right? He had an interception last year. How many career interceptions does he have?
2.
Yep.
Listen, you just got to get one and they start coming, all right?
So we'll see.
You just got to get 2 and then they start coming, all right?
Not exactly a playmaker, and Washington didn't exactly love him. But last year, change of scenery. He was like cornerback 3. He had to start a little bit, I think, but a couple games. But really kind of came into his own and had the best year of his career last year. And he is also on a very team-friendly deal. Basically like 1 year, $5 million, and then next year we decide if we want to pick up another year for $5 million. Awesome. That's great.
We do.
That's great. Like you said, very different body type than we have had and usually have at corner. This guy would definitely be on Devin's Madden team, that's for sure. He loves some tall cornerbacks.
They can just cover so much space. Think about the geometrics of it. Like if they're terribly slow, I get it, but think of the wingspan. Think of the go up and get it. Think of the physicality. Oh, sorry. I'm here.
So we'll see. But like you said, I think it's really good depth. It's another corner that can come in and play NFL snaps, right? Which we don't have a ton of. If we, for whatever reason, don't pick a corner high, if the draft doesn't fall right or whatever, I'm glad you said you liked Kamal Haddon because he was going to be CB3, right? I don't love that.
Because apparently Bo Melton is never allowed to play. Is
Correct.
She Barty still around?
Might be. But
yeah, it's the corner room. I told you I went through and looked through all the how the roster currently standed, and yeah, corner before we picked up Benjamin St. Juste is Nixon, Valentine, Bullard, I guess, Bo Melton, Kamal Haddon.
That's it.
Shamar.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
So we needed some more adults in the room that have played NFL football, basically.
We got a man.
Correct. So, and like I said, different body type. What I'm curious under Gannon, one of the things I'm curious about is, do we start to change kind of our preferred body type for our corners? Do we start to go with bigger guys? The draft may tell us this if we draft one, because there's a lot of big corners in this draft. Is this more where we want to end up, right? Unless the 5'11", 6-foot guys and more the 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" guys. This may be the first step to that, right? We recently reworked our offensive line and kind of went outside our norms to make them a lot beefier than they used to be and focus more on the run for the first time in 2 decades, basically since Amon Green, to build our line that way. Are we going to start to do that with the cornerback room as well? Potentially, right? Nixon's on the smaller side. Valentine's not big, clearly. He's got a scrawny.
Nixon gets thrown around like a wet noodle in the wind, bro.
I was being nice.
He can be a child's plaything at moments. Sometimes he's a dog, and other times, nope.
Oh, man. As much as we hate Nixon, we have to remember that we did sign him for pennies to be a kick returner. He ended up being a pretty decent corner.
He's still a good value, but just because you're a good value doesn't mean that you're all of a sudden, holy and divine.
No.
You are
he should not be
forgiven
CB1
for any other sins that you have. That's not how it works.
Completely
That's
agree.
Not how I live life.
Should not be CB1. But yeah, super excited to have him on the team. Like I said, coming off a career year for him. Graded out really well with PFF and stuff like that. So excited to have him on the team. And once again, raises the floor of the position, right? We're strengthening the bottom potentially of some of the positions that we were really nervous about coming into the offseason, which then gives us more opportunities in the draft to take best player available. And if we have to run out a cornerback room of those guys we have currently, it's not great, but we'll survive.
I feel better about it than before.
Exactly. And that feels like the kind of moves we made this offseason. So, interesting group of guys. I'm glad we got to end on Juice Band number 2 there for you. And yeah.
Before we reflect on the moves in the draft, speaking about the draft, just something you need to come to grips with.
Okay.
Because we're watching it together, right?
Yeah. Well, at least some of it, yeah.
And you had proposed the question of, what if this is the body type we want going forward? You just need to realize that you may be in auditory vicinity of me, and the Packers may take a 6'2" or above corner. I just want you to come to terms with that before you enter my home that evening.
That's fair. Hopefully, if we are going to take one, we already have. So I can avoid that. Me and my eardrums.
Because we're watching Saturday and Friday is round 2 and 3.
Correct. There's a good chance. We'd all be happy then, I think.
I would say so. I mean, we could just take 2, right? Just have 3 of them.
Get
rid of Nixon and Valentine.
It's a very goody thing to do.
Trade Nixon and Valentine for this year and for next year's first round
from
pick
Jerry Jones
to Jerry Jones.
Love it.
Yeah, he would do it. He would absolutely do it.
I love it.
He's really kind and generous. And okay, all right. So now all this shit is going to circle back to the beginning where we were, because we have talked about I know I'm hype. You're here for it, because we have talked about the friends that we lost, the friends that we've made. We have an idea where the roster looks.
Yeah.
And now the next question is, as we prepare for the draft, with your strategy in your mind, thinking of who we have, are you thinking, am I trying to return the team to how it looked with Micah, or am I more prioritizing fixing the issues that we saw in the back end? So for me, after what we have done, my priority would be, I could have a case made for defensive end or defensive tackle. I'd probably lean defensive tackle 1, and then edge rusher, outside linebacker, whatever, number 2. Because although Rashawn Gary was shit towards the end of the season, he was still part of the Micah productivity, absolute destruction of offenses. And we do have LVN, who I believe we thought looked the best he ever has. Mike is also going to be out for the first 4 weeks. Baron Sorrell and Colin Oliver have also looked really good. Like, they're training with Micah already, so I anticipate they'll be better. I still think it is a significant, we need to have other horses in that pass rush room next to and around Micah. So I still think it's a high priority, with the idea of returning the team to how it was at our strongest point. I could then be okay with, if there is a linebacker that you think is going to be better in pass coverage, I'd be okay with it, but probably corner goes before that. If you can throw somebody else in the room to give competition for Nixon and Valentine, throw in some offensive lineman picks, because we always have to have depth, and the depth that we have now is absolute trash.
So your top 5 then is...
But now I have running back. So now I have to put running back in there.
Edge rusher, corner, running back, offensive line.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Ballpark.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like, with the needs that we have, some of these bodies that we're going to add are going to be like UDFAs. It's just the reality of what it is. We need another safety. We need another corner. We probably need another lineman or 2. We for sure need another defensive tackle to play significant snaps. We need another edge rusher. I mean, depending on if you're okay having both the Juice Man and James Dunn at linebacker as 2 of your linebacker bodies. Maybe another tight end. I think we're okay at receiver. So I think we have more people that I want to add in the draft than we have picks.
Yep.
Which is the frustration I was telling you as I was doing my mocks. So could that result in, you hear rumors about a Dontavian Wicks trade? I would think that would be stupid and we shouldn't. Could we trade back to obtain more picks? That's a strategy. That could work. I could see that. But the reality is we may just, have like Jonathan Baldwin as, or whoever UDFA safety from this year is safety 5. And pick some random undrafted free agent linebacker who's really just good in pass coverage to be an option if Franklin is getting cooked in 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 15.
The only thing I'd push back on linebacker, we have 6 linebackers to play 2 spots currently on the roster.
I'm hoping we mess around with that whole 3-3 thing where we have 3 off-ball linebackers. The Eagles would do it sometimes. Not a whole lot. I get worried then. About the pass coverage reps. That's where I'm at.
No, I get it. I think I'd go D tackle, nose tackle, whatever you want to call it. I think I'm still going to do corner because we have like no corners under contract next year besides the Juice Man. Those 2. I think running back's a sneaky need.
Because, just to remind the folks at home, Josh Jacobs, who we love, but this might be the last year where he's really himself.
Potentially, right? We're coming to that point in his career, potentially. Yeah.
We like Chris Brooks a lot. He's great in 3rd down. Marshawn Lloyd doesn't exist. I don't feel great about Chris Brooks being RB2. That feels very limiting. I genuinely feel like we could find a undrafted free agent that would be better.
That's fair.
At least for running the ball.
Yeah.
100%. But keep him around for everything else because he's great.
So I think D tackle, corner, edge rusher, running back. Am I just doing the exact same thing as you? That sucks.
I mean, you put corner above edge rusher because I'm still going we really could be okay with Sorrell and Oliver if they take steps. Like that could together, this is like Moneyball, them together could replace even like Rashawn Gary's good. I could see that. Sorrell showed flashes. Brenton Cox is randomly good. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, is he gone now?
No, we have
he's
him
back.
And Mosby are both back.
Okay. I didn't need Aaron Mosby back, but Brenton Cox for sure.
I'll take off-ball linebackers my last one. We'll do that. I don't think they're necessarily going to take one, but it's a good draft for off-ball linebackers in the ranges we're in. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It's a really good, this will be the last thing we talk about, but this draft thankfully lines up with our needs very well. It's deep on very large defensive linemen. Like last year was not, right? It was very top-heavy with large defensive linemen. So if you needed a nose tackle, you had to take him early, and that's what happened. A ton of them. Also a ton of big-bodied cornerbacks this year. A ton of them. Way more than normal, right?
It's our year, bro.
And it's good for off-ball linebackers, a lot of physical freaks. So it definitely lines up with where we need people. They should be available in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. And a lot of really athletic wide receivers if you want to go down that road as well. A lot of tall, fast, Christian Watson-like guys. So, very interesting.
Unless we do some crazy trade back where we take like our 2nd and get like 5 picks, which isn't going to happen, I feel it would be borderline irresponsible to draft a receiver if we don't have that many more picks or we don't make other moves before that.
Right now, the only ones under contract for next year are Savion and Golden.
I understand that. I just feel like the needs of this roster for this year are more. And I get that we stockpile ahead. And if we want to do that, then trade back and get more picks because we have enough holes. Like with what we're talking about, we have, like we don't have a high priority on the offensive line. We can withstand maybe one injury. Because if Sean Ryan goes down, Kennard can't play center. I'm like, I don't know how then you reshuffle.
Jacob Monk.
I think it's like Jacob Monk, who there's no reason to believe. The other bodies that have names that are behind our starters, besides Kennard, are worthless in my mind. I have no faith in any of them, whether it's Jacob Monk, whether it's Travis Glover, whether it's the composer John Williams, like those names
Illinois'
are the
own.
depth now. Those names are the depth now that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the people that are on the practice squad that I don't even care to remember their names. So if I feel like we can't even do that, make that better, I just feel like we can't grab a receiver. Grab some UDFAs, sign a bargain bid for agent. I don't know, but I just don't think it should be a position we spend a pick on. That's all.
Well, spoiler alert for our mock draft episode, Devin will not be taking a wide receiver.
Oh, you know what? Shit. Unless it's my 7th round pick and Wetchin's there.
We'd never take him.
I would take him.
I know you would.
Iowa's home, baby. Come on home. Come on home. It works out well for us. It does. Josh Jackson, not so much, but Micah Hyde. I believe in Nessie. Mike Daniels.
Brian Balaga.
Iowa. It's been good to us overall.
It has.
All right. I think we're good there.
I think we're
Unless you have any other thoughts about the needs.
Nope.
What a beautiful episode. I mean, listen, who doesn't need an hour and a half banger about a few free agency moves and previewing the draft? Would you expect anything less
I would not.
from here at South of the Cheddar Curtain?
I would not, no.
But I said it this year and I was wrong. Sorry, folks. But this year has to be the year. Because after, it's not going to be impossible, but it's going to be much tougher. So that is why we have to sit and analyze, or we choose. We have the honor and the privilege of sitting here and analyzing every little detail, because every little detail matters. Unless this dude really is Rick Bisaccia 2.0, and then nothing matters. But I hope that's not the case. I really do. But until next time, and as always,
Go Pack Go.
go Pack Go.